This was an attempt at us doing our congressional duty and performing oversight at the Whipple Federal Building. We were finally, this was the third time try for Congresswoman Craig. My second attempt, we were finally let in. We were given a full and complete tour of the facility. And you know, the objective of this oversight was always to be able to come in at any moment to see what is taking place at these detention facilities and how people are being treated. When they instituted the 1 week notice, we knew that things were going to be different. And we weren't surprised at what we saw today. We went into the facility and there was not a single detainee that we could see or talk to. Every cell, every inch of it was completely empty. And when we'd asked, why isn't there anyone here? Because we obviously know they've been detaining people. They said the last people left at 11:30. It seems a little too convenient, knowing that our scheduled visit was going to be at 12 p.m., that the last detainees would be transported out of the facility at 11:30. We know that our colleague, Senator Tina Smith, also had a scheduled meeting today, where she also was told that the detainees left a little before she got there, and there was a possibility some might come in after she leaves. We've been told that on average, as the search has been drawn down, they are getting about 20 a day detainees that they are picking up. They have not picked up any observers in the last couple of days and held them in this facility. The facility seemed to be clean and orderly. And again, you know, I wouldn't be surprised with having the level of notification that we were supposed to give about our arrival, that things were arranged in that way. There's more we want to say, but I will give my colleague Angie Craig to give a few of the other updates that we've heard.
So thank you so much. And yes, it was the first time that I've been allowed into the facility. It seems very convenient that they removed anyone who had been arrested today from the facility 30 minutes before we arrived at the facility. And this is why members of Congress, under our congressional duty, and why we are challenging the new policy on the part of this administration, that it is illegal to require us to give 7 days notice. What we saw today was an incredibly clean facility. It was a facility without a single individual being held in it. And this is precisely why in the appropriations law in this country, we have written and Donald Trump has signed that members of Congress can ask to be allowed into these facilities with absolutely no notice. So I'm glad we got in today to be able to see the facility itself. But at the end of the day, this is not the intent of the law. And once again, Donald Trump's Department of Homeland Security is violating the law. Now, what we were also told is that there are under 500 ICE agents remaining in Minnesota. That's off of the 3,000 surge that we saw here. There are HSI agents. In addition to that, we were told that they are averaging now only 20 arrests per day, and that they are moving those individuals to the 4 essentially county jails in order to hold them. What we saw today was very, very different than what the state has experienced under Operation Metro Surge. We were also told today, and constitutional observers should hear this, that if you ask an ICE agent to identify themselves, they should tell you their badge number. Their badge number. We were told that absolutely racial profiling should not occur in the state of Minnesota. We know racial profiling has occurred and is occurring. My own brother-in-law was racially profiled just a few weeks ago. So I would say they are supposed to tell you their badge numbers. So certainly we observe the drawdown is occurring. They are back to, on average, only 2 deportation flights per week from Minnesota, supposedly. But as we've been saying from the start, we will take everything we're told with a grain of salt, and we will only believe things when we see them here as this operation winds down.
We'll take any questions if any.
Chad Michael Media here. Just a quick question. If what you found out today proves to not be accurate, what are the next steps forward? I know some people have been out here the last few mornings and counted hundreds of vehicles pulling in every morning. So I'm just curious your thoughts on how you proceed from there.
Yeah, I believe I speak for both of us when I say we are committed to continuing to hold ICE and DHS in general accountable. As the Congresswoman said, I believe it when I see it. We have always asked for proof. We are going to continue to challenge the idea that we need notice in order for us to do our oversight duties. We want to be able to be back to the regular process that we are constitutionally allowed to carry out, which is to just show up and be allowed access, because the idea is that nothing should happen in the darkness in America to subvert people's civil liberties. And we know, I've been doing oversight quite a lot. And we know oftentimes when some of these facilities know that you are coming, there is a cleanup. We know that they're going to work really hard to make sure that there is nothing for us to see and there is nothing for us to report. But what we want in this country is truth and honesty. There is already a loss of trust in federal law enforcement, and we want to make sure that people have trust in those that are supposed to carry out the laws of this land. And we can't do that if we are not given the kind of access we are allowed under the Constitution.
I would just also add that I think based on what we saw today, we'll be asking the Department of Homeland Security to provide in writing what they told us verbally today, just to make sure that we have all of these things covered.
Yeah, Representative, when you say that you were told this information today, that you said 500 ICE agents left from the surge, who are you attributing that to? Is the field office commander in there? Is Tom Homan in there? Who actually told you this information?
Yeah, Tom Homan is back in Washington, so we were told. He's no longer here, so the acting director was here today, and he gave us this particular information. I hear that Homan made some remarks about the timeline for the drawdown, perhaps earlier today. The acting director would not verify that the director would not actually verify that information to us. But look, what we saw in there today is clearly from the height of Operation Metro Surge, there has been a drawdown. I don't know how we marry that with specific information we're getting from our districts, where just this week we have heard that there are agents staging near Spanish immersion schools in Minnesota. We were told specifically that ICE agents have been directed, do not stage near a hospital, a school, or a place of worship. So if citizens see this happening, we made sure that we have a line of communication today. Ask those badge numbers, get them to your member of Congress or our 2 U.S. senators, and we will do everything in our power to hold those agents accountable. Their leadership is telling us they have to tell you their badge number. They're telling us they should not be staging in these sensitive locations. They're telling us that they should not be racially profiling Minnesotans. If that is happening in Minnesota, you better bet we are going to take it on all the way and make sure that people are held accountable.
Question. Do you plan to visit another time after this one as well?
Yes, we will continuously make attempts. We're also interested in looking at some other detention centers where some of our constituents might be detained. I'd also talk to them about possibly visiting some of these county jails where people are detained. They promise that they'll give me a list. They'll give us a list of the people that are detained in those 4 county jails, so that we can see if any of our constituents are in there, and then make the proper request to have a visit with them.
I have a question. I'm activist, underscore Dare. I'm an independent person, activist also. I'm a legal observer. So for me to come to my community, so where should I to go back out to my community and let them know we are safe to legal observe them without any obstruction from them or any violence? Because I personally have been violated by these agents.
Well, thank you for the question. Obviously, we asked about that. I think it is important for people to continue to exercise their constitutional rights. We do not want people to engage with ICE or Border Patrol in any sort of violent way. We want everybody to remain safe. So if you are able and want to observe and record them from a distance, so that you are able to get that information in case they are acting unlawfully, that is something that we should all continue to do to keep one another safe. What they've told us is that they want us to help them make sure that accountability is carried out. They told us to let them know if people are witnessing folks staging at hospitals, schools, and places of worship. They also told us that the door-to-door, the randomness of multiple masked Asians with paramilitary weapon, it's not something that we should be seeing. So if you are observing that, please document it and reach out to our offices so that we can provide that information to them. If you interact with an ICE agent and they are refusing to provide their badge number, please record that interaction, document that interaction, let us know. Because we were frank with them about the fact that there hasn't been accountability for the lawlessness that we have been seeing. There hasn't been transparency from these federal law agents in us understanding who you are and what you're doing in our communities and why are we being terrorized. They objected to the idea that people have been disappeared. We explained to them, it is our job when community members cannot be located, for us to look at the ICE locator and see if people are in there. And there's been many a times when we look and we can't find any of them. When we reach out to ICE's office or HSI and ask them, can you give us information? They send us to their liaisons in Washington, D.C. That is not how normal operations used to take place here. That is not the standard in which they interact with congressional offices. And we were very frank about that. And they told us they do agree that is not the way things are supposed to happen. And they are very much interested going forward in going back to regular conduct. And we will hold them accountable.
The tone they are using, right, is very different than the height of Operation Metro Surge. But are the actions they're using different? And so that's what, as a community, we have to continue to hold them accountable. And we made it absolutely clear under no uncertain premise that they need to completely draw down from Minnesota, that until these agents stop targeting and terrorizing our neighbors, that we are going to keep coming back. And frankly, what we saw today, we are going to make sure it will take court action, that our authority to show up and observe what's happening without 7 days of notice for them to get ready and move everybody out before we walk through the door. We're not going to stop until those rights, because they are responsibilities, are restored to members of Congress.
Thank you.
Is there a Kiko facility on site? here? How do they feed these?
There is a room where food prep is on the wall. We were not able to go into that part of the building, but we were told now that the numbers have declined so that they are moving people out of this facility on average within 6 hours, and that 12 hours is maximum. To a different holding facility. So we know that was not the case at the height of Operation Metro Surge. Again, this felt more like normal activity in Minnesota than what we have been experiencing. But again, we're not going to believe it until we fully can see it and feel it. Not just us, but our constituents reporting back.
We witnessed children being released in T-shirts. What's your view on
Go
it?
ahead.
I'm sorry, something you said earlier about, your district. Is it your sense that some of these operations are busier outside the metro than they were before, that it's shifted?
Yeah, I think we certainly have reports in my congressional district, in the suburbs, in the exurbs, that instead of traveling in caravans through the cities, that they are doing more targeted actions in the suburbs, as well as simply sitting in the suburbs, waiting to find someone who happens to be a person of color. Those reports actually have increased since the drawdown. So that is my sense. Again, it's anecdotal from my constituents, but we certainly have not seen the cessation of these activities, and in fact it very much feels like some have just moved out into the suburbs.
And for me, what I communicated to them is just how incredibly challenging it's been for cities like Columbia Heights, Fort Ridley, where they are staged at essentially every single school. Sam Olson, who's the director here, told me that shouldn't be happening. And so I look forward to providing some of that information to him directly as we see it carried out in real time. But I also told them that in Minneapolis, a lot of our schools are operating at 30% attendance because so many families are mortified. Our churches, especially Catholic churches, have seen a reduction of 80% of their parishioners. This is not a way for people to carry out their normal lives, and the disruption is not just to our businesses, but it's just like daily activity, and it is not something that we want to continue to see, and it is not something that we're gonna just take their word when they say that we shouldn't be seeing that anymore.
Well, and I would just add, before I came here today, I held a forum with members of the AAPI community. So just remember, we have a broad, diverse set of neighbors in Minnesota, from Somali Minnesotans to Hispanic Minnesotans to members of the AAPI community. And in every single community, we are hearing business reduction of 80% plus, and schools 50% absences or going online. And we know the level of lost learning that is occurring in these communities. Teachers across the entire state are doing their level best to make sure that these students have access to learning. But I think we are just beginning to start to understand as a state the widespread implications of Operation Metro Surge, not just at the human level, but at the state level as well. So, thank you so much.